It was a quiet Sunday afternoon, and Anna decided to clean the old basement. The air smelled of aged wood and dust, and faint rays of sunlight filtered through the small window, illuminating floating specks of dust. She rolled up her sleeves, determined to tackle the clutter that had been accumulating for years. In one dark corner, partially hidden under a pile of forgotten boxes, Anna noticed a small wooden chest. Its hinges were rusted, and the once bright paint had faded into a dull, peeling gray. Intrigued, she pulled it out and brushed off the thick layer of dust covering its surface. Inside the chest were various trinkets, an old photo frame, a few yellowed postcards, and at the bottom, a neatly folded envelope. Anna's curiosity heightened as she picked up the envelope. It was sealed with a delicate wax stamp that had partially cracked over time. The paper felt fragile under her fingers, as though it might crumble if handled too roughly. The handwriting on the front read, "To Mary." "Who's Mary?" Anna murmured to herself, turning the envelope over. She didn't recall anyone in her family with that name, nor had she ever heard stories about a Mary connected to the house. Carefully breaking the brittle seal, she unfolded the letter. The first line caught her attention immediately. "Dear Mary, I hope this letter finds you well. It's been too long since we last spoke, but I carry our memories with me every day." Anna's heart raced. The language was English, and while she recognized some words, others seemed foreign and challenging. She placed the letter down and stared at it, her mind racing with questions. Who had written this letter? And why was it tucked away in this forgotten chest? Anna sat cross-legged on the dusty basement floor, holding the fragile letter in her trembling hands. The weight of curiosity and excitement swirled within her. She took a deep breath and began reading aloud, her voice soft and hesitant as she tried to make sense of the words. "Dear Mary, I hope this letter finds you well. It's been too long since we last spoke, but I carry our memories with me every day. The summers we spent by the lake, the laughter we shared under the old oak tree, they remain etched in my heart." She paused, her eyebrows furrowing as she stumbled over certain phrases. "Etched in my heart?" she repeated, her voice tinged with confusion. What does that mean? Pulling out her phone, Anna opened a translation app and typed the unfamiliar words. "Etched." "It means carved or engraved," she said aloud, as if explaining it to someone else. "So it means these memories are deeply rooted in their heart." Encouraged, she continued reading. "Life has taken us down different paths, but I want you to know that you will always hold a special place in my thoughts. No matter how far apart we may be, the bond we share is unbreakable." Anna's eyes widened as emotions began to bubble up. The words were simple but powerful. She could feel the deep connection the writer had with Mary, even without understanding every word. She carefully reread the sentences, this time repeating the phrases aloud to practice her pronunciation. "You will always hold a special place in my thoughts," she said slowly, emphasizing each word. Her mind began to wander. Who was the person writing this, and who was Mary? She felt an odd kinship with both, as though she had stumbled upon a private moment frozen in time. As she read further, the letter mentioned phrases that challenged her vocabulary. "I cherish the memories of our times together." "Cherish?" Anna whispered, typing the word into her app again. To cherish means to treasure or hold dear. It's about appreciating something deeply. She smiled to herself, repeating, I cherish the memories. Determined to learn, she began jotting down these new words and phrases in her notebook. Etched, thoughts, cherish. Each word seemed to add a piece to the puzzle of the letter's story. Before long, she reached the final lines of the letter. Until we meet again, Mary. Please remember, you are always in my heart. Yours forever, Edward. Anna stared at the signature for a long moment. Edward. She whispered the name as if testing how it sounded aloud. A mystery was unfolding, and she was at its center. Anna sat in the quiet basement, staring at the name Edward on the bottom of the letter. The mystery had deepened. Who was Mary? And what was her connection to Edward? Anna couldn't shake the feeling that the answer was somewhere in this old house. She placed the letter back in the chest and began examining its contents more carefully. There were faded photographs, worn postcards, and small trinkets. Picking up one photograph, Anna noticed two people standing near a lake. The picture was black and white, with jagged edges, and the faces were slightly blurred with age. Is this Mary? She wondered aloud, tracing her finger over the image. The woman in the photo wore a long summer dress and had a wide smile, while the man beside her held a fishing rod. Turning the photo over, Anna noticed a faint scribble on the back. It read, Summer of '63. She frowned, unsure what to make of it. If this was taken in 1963, then Mary and Edward must have been young adults back then. But why would this be left here? As she pieced together the clues, Anna's thoughts raced. Could Mary have been a previous owner of the house? Or perhaps a relative of her family that no one ever spoke about? She placed the photo aside and picked up one of the postcards. It was addressed to someone named Mary, but the handwriting wasn't Edward's. The message read, Dear Mary, hope you're enjoying your summer at the lake. Don't forget to write back soon. Best wishes, Clara. Clara? Anna whispered, another name to add to the mystery. The basement felt alive with the weight of untold stories. Anna began to feel an odd connection to Mary, as if she could sense her presence through these old relics. She pictured Mary laughing by the lake or reading Edward's letter for the first time. Anna realized she had stumbled upon not just a letter, but a fragment of someone's life. She couldn't help but wonder what had happened to Mary and Edward. Did they reunite? Did their bond remain unbreakable, as Edward had written? The questions lingered as Anna collected the items and decided to bring them upstairs for further examination. Maybe there's more to find, she thought. Or someone in my family might know something about these people. With that, Anna climbed the stairs, carrying the chest with her. The adventure was only beginning, and she was determined to uncover the truth about Mary and Edward. The chest sat on Anna's dining table as she carefully spread out its contents, the letter, the photograph, and the postcards. Sunlight streamed through the window, illuminating the aged paper and faded ink. Anna ran her fingers over the items, as though touching them could unlock their secrets. She picked up the photograph again, staring at the two figures by the lake. The woman's smile was warm and carefree, while the man's expression was more reserved but no less fond. She flipped the photo over once more, reading the scrawled, Summer of '63. Could this lake still exist? She wondered. Anna grabbed her phone and began searching for lakes near her town. It was a small hope, but perhaps this clue could lead her closer to understanding Edward and Mary's story. As the search results loaded, Anna's eyes landed on a familiar name, Cedarwood Lake. It was a place her parents had mentioned visiting during their childhood. Could this be the same lake? She muttered, excitement bubbling within her. Setting the phone down, Anna shifted her focus back to the letter. She began reading it again, this time slowly, line by line. Each phrase seemed to carry a weight of emotion. The summers we spent by the lake, the laughter we shared under the old oak tree. An idea struck her. She pulled out a map of the area, her finger tracing the route to Cedarwood Lake. If I could visit the lake, maybe I'll find the oak tree he mentioned, she thought. Next, she examined the postcard from Clara. The handwriting was neat but faded, and the cheerful tone stood out in contrast to the melancholy of Edward's letter. She read it aloud. "Dear Mary, hope you're enjoying your summer at the lake. Don't forget to write back soon. Best wishes, Clara." Anna paused, tapping the edge of the postcard against her lips. Who was Clara? A friend? A relative? And why had Mary kept this postcard alongside Edward's letter? The more Anna thought about it, the more she realized that these items were pieces of a larger puzzle. She decided to look through her family's old photo albums, hoping to find some connection to Mary. An hour later, Anna sat cross-legged on her living room floor, flipping through pages of sepia-toned photographs. Her grandparents, parents, and even a few distant relatives stared back at her from decades past, but there was no sign of Mary or Edward. Just as she was about to give up, she noticed a small, unlabeled album tucked in the back of the box. It was smaller than the others and covered in a worn floral fabric. Anna's heart raced as she opened it. The first photo was of a young woman standing on the porch of what looked like Anna's house. She was holding a book in one hand and waving with the other. The caption beneath read, "Mary, 1957. Anna gasped. This was her Mary, the Mary from the letter. As she flipped through the album, more photos of Mary appeared. Mary in the kitchen, Mary sitting in the garden, Mary at Cedarwood Lake. Anna felt as though she were stepping into Mary's world. But the last photo in the album caught her attention. It was of Mary and Edward together, their arms wrapped around each other. The caption read simply, "Forever." Anna's chest tightened. The mystery was unfolding, and with each new piece, she felt an even stronger connection to these strangers from the past. Anna placed the small photo album beside the chest, her hands trembling with excitement. She picked up the letter again, determined to read every word and fully grasp the meaning behind Edward's heartfelt message. Taking a deep breath, she began to read the opening lines once more, this time focusing on translating each sentence with the help of her phone. "Dear Mary, I hope this letter finds you well. It's been too long since we last spoke, but I carry our memories with me every day." Anna paused and spoke aloud to herself, carefully translating, "Querida Mary, espero que esta carta te encontrarem. Faz muito tempo desde que falamos pela última vez, mas carrego nossas memórias comigo todos os dias." She smiled, repeating the phrases slowly in English. "I carry our memories with me every day," she whispered. The words felt personal, almost as if Edward was speaking directly to her. Continuing, she came across the line. The summers we spent by the lake, the laughter we shared under the old oak tree, they remain etched in my heart. Anna paused at the word etched. She had looked it up earlier, but she wanted to ensure she fully understood it. Typing the word into her app, she found the explanation again, to engrave deeply or permanently. So, he's saying these memories are deeply engraved in his heart, she murmured. She repeated the sentence aloud, emphasizing its rhythm. They remain etched in my heart. She flipped through her notebook, adding the phrase to her growing list of vocabulary: etched, gravato, laughter, risata, oak tree, carvalho. The next part of the letter pulled at her emotions. Life has taken us down different paths, but I want you to know that you will always hold a special place in my thoughts. Anna felt a lump in her throat. She translated again. A vida nos levou por caminhos diferentes, mas quero que saiba que voca sempre terá lugar especial em meus pensamentos. You will always hold a special place, she repeated, her voice steady. This is such a beautiful way to express love and care for someone. As Anna read further, the letter's emotional weight grew. I cherish the memories of our times together. Until we meet again, Mary, please remember, you are always in my heart. The word cherish stood out to her. She typed it into her app and read aloud. To cherish means to treasure or to deeply value. She jotted it down in her notebook. Cherish, apreciar valorizar. She repeated the final sentence several times, savoring its meaning. You are always in my heart. The signature at the end of the letter brought everything together. Yours forever, Edward. Anna leaned back in her chair, the weight of Edward's words settling over her. This was more than a letter. It was a glimpse into a life filled with longing, and unspoken stories. She closed her eyes for a moment, imagining Edward sitting by a desk, penning these words with hope and emotion. What had happened to him and Mary? Had they ever met again, or were these words the last connection they shared? Opening her eyes, Anna spoke to herself. This letter isn't just about them. It's also teaching me so much about language and emotions. She flipped back to her notebook and reviewed the new vocabulary and expressions she'd learned. Words like etched, cherish, and thoughts were no longer just abstract terms. They were tied to a story that felt deeply personal. For a brief moment, she thought about writing her own letter, perhaps to a friend, a family member, or even to herself, using the phrases and expressions Edward had shared. But first, she needed to piece together the final parts of the puzzle. There had to be more to Mary and Edward's story, and she wasn't ready to let it end here. Anna sat in her living room, surrounded by the scattered remnants of Mary and Edward's story. The letter, photographs, and postcards felt like fragments of a time capsule, each piece connecting her more deeply to the past. She leaned back, gazing at the photo of Mary and Edward together, labeled simply with "Forever." Her thoughts shifted to the viewers she imagined sharing this journey with. She picked up the letter once more and spoke directly, as though addressing an audience. This story isn't just about Mary and Edward. It's about the power of words, how they preserve memories, express emotions, and connect people across time. And you've been learning these words with me. Anna flipped open her notebook, holding it up. Let's go over what we've learned together today. Etched, deeply engraved, or unforgettable. cherish, to value or appreciate something deeply. Thoughts, what's in your mind or heart? She smiled warmly. These aren't just words, they're tools to help you express yourself. For example, you can say, I cherish my time with my family, or this memory is etched in my heart. Anna paused, looking back at the letter. But this isn't just about understanding the words, it's about understanding the feelings behind them. Edward didn't just write a letter, he poured his heart into it. And I think we can all learn from that. She leaned forward, her voice becoming more animated. Now, I have a challenge for you. Think about someone you care about, someone who's important to you. I want you to write them a letter in English. It doesn't have to be perfect. Just use some of the phrases we've learned today. Anna picked up a blank sheet of paper and a pen. Here's how you can start. Dear Name, I cherish the moments we've shared. You will always hold a special place in my thoughts. Yours sincerely, your name. You can write about a memory, a feeling, or even just something you want them to know. And if you feel comfortable, share it with me in the comments. I'd love to read your letters. Her expression softened as she looked back at the camera. This journey has taught me so much, not just about Edward and Mary, but about how language can bring us closer to each other. Every word we learn is like opening a new door to understanding. So don't be afraid to keep practicing. Every little step counts. Anna carefully gathered the letter and other items, placing them back in the chest. For me, this story isn't over yet. There's still so much to discover. But for now, let's take what we've learned and keep moving forward. After all, just like Edward said to Mary, the bonds we create are unbreakable. She ended with a smile and a final thought. Remember, you are always in my heart, just like these words. See you in the next story.